Hi everyone, it's Lynee Alves here for Women of Truth. These are conferences that we run in Cyprus, in the Netherlands, and maybe in your country, wherever you are watching us. Invite us and we'll join you. But for today, we're going to be really looking at this very interesting subject about how to really present yourself to the world. This lady that I have invited to attend this interview with me today is an expert in helping people really understand the best way to present themselves. So this could be in an interview, it could be on a resume, it could really be in just any day-to-day chat that you have with anybody, because you really are showing who you are in every single moment with every word you speak. So let's welcome Lynée Alves. I hope I pronounced the surname right, Lynée. Thanks so much for joining me.
Thank you, Helen. It's so nice to be here.
Yeah, we met at this incredible fairy godmother of online that I call her events in California recently, and I just really loved your smile, and we had such a warm chat, totally spontaneous. We weren't really able to spend too long together because we were so busy, and we've been speaking about how busy we are running businesses as solo entrepreneurs, as women out there in the world doing what we love. We do have to learn how to really be good in presenting what we're passionate about, and by good we mean to get our message across, to be really heard, to be understood, and to have some kind of way for others to relate well to us when we do that. So I'm so happy to have you here. I hope we can do many projects together. Be a woman of truth, because from the word go, I just felt something very genuine and honest about you. So thank you for making time. You just told me that you spoke to the Society of Human Resource Management yesterday, talking about this subject. Give us a little bit of background about you. I know you were in corporate, and I know now you focus on one-on-one coaching to help people become good at interviewing. So give us a little bit of context about that.
Sure. I spent nearly 30 years in corporate America in a variety of roles. My focus in my business life was in media sales, advertising sales at a variety of companies, large companies, the Chicago Tribune, apartments.com. I ran LivingSocial here in Chicago for a short while. And then most recently, I worked at Comcast and headed up their cable advertising sales here in the Chicagoland market. So most of my work was in advertising sales. However, about 20 years ago at the Chicago Tribune, my role was as the recruiting manager for a 100-member outside sales team, and then began my journey as someone who was regularly interviewing and hiring talent for my company then, and then for all of my subsequent companies in my management roles. And I really found that I had a passion around it. And I love working with individuals, and I love supporting them in that journey. And so I've started my own business to do just that.
What an incredible resource you are then for so many different groups and for individuals themselves, to know that you've sat with so many people and you've actually interviewed them. You obviously see quite quickly what is a good message, form of delivery, and what can be improved. So I'm wondering about you as a person. What was for you a life-changing moment or a breakthrough that you had in your life that really opened you up to some profound piece of truth or wisdom about life, so we can get to know you a little bit better?
You know, I mean, there's always so many, right? You know, I think that, you know, I grew up in a home with that was a divorced home. And I think that early on I had to learn learn that I had to really take care of myself in a lot of ways, and had to be very strong and very independent. That can be a good thing, and that can also be a challenge, right? So I've been always very self-reliant, and that I think had carried me through my corporate career, where I really, you know, I was working in very competitive companies, and that really gave me that inner strength. But more recently, what's been so interesting in this opportunity to have my own business is exploring things that are so different, right? I've always been, I think, naturally tuned to my mindset, but more recently have worked on that with meditation, with just general state of mind work. And that has been so helpful to me. And it certainly gave me the strength and the confidence to go out on my own and to start my own business. And I think because I had that right mindset, I am seeing some success and seeing wonderful clients come to me, being able to meet wonderful people like you, as I kind of kick off this new journey.
Yeah, that's beautiful to know that you are an ambassador of all those techniques that they keep telling us to do, right? I also really believe in meditation, and I think it's one of the most amazing things we have on the planet. So when you actually left corporate and you decided to sort of start off on your own, what was the biggest push for you? What was the thing you thought you couldn't get if you didn't do that?
Well, I'll tell you what, that's such a great question. I had actually tried to start a business maybe about, I don't know, 12, 14 years ago, something like that. After I left my first job, after 20 years, I had that opportunity, but I was much younger. I didn't know as much. I didn't have the background. And I also selected some target business types that immediately fell into free fall when we had our economy collapse here in 2006. So after that, I went back to corporate, worked for many years. And what's so interesting, Helen, is that every job I took became worse than the last job for me. It was more and more of a struggle. It was more difficult. And yet I was, getting great jobs that were really challenging and really and really demanding. And they just grew more and more demanding. So I think that what happened for me is that the demands just got to be too much. And I just, I finally listened to my heart. And I knew months before I left my last job that I wanted to leave and that I didn't want to go back and that I really wanted to do my own thing because I knew and recognized how unhappy I was in doing what I was doing and continuing on this very traditional track, if you will.
Yeah, well, congratulations. It's a very hard choice for a lot of people for a very long time.
Mm-hmm.
It's not easy, as we both know. There's a lot of ins and outs that we have to perfect over time, and we have a great fairy godmother. So there you go.
Yes, exactly.
So I'm really happy to be on this journey and with you. And I know it's reassuring for me, and I'm sure for many watching, to know that it's something we all experience is this trepidation and concern and difficulty, real challenge, somewhere along the line. But I think if you push on through, many things are possible, with persistence and with repetition. So as a young girl, 8 years old, starting off your life, I wonder what you were like and where you've come to now. What kind of advice would you give your 8-year-old little girl, knowing what you know about the world now?
I think listen to your gut and that you know what's best for you, right? And I can look back then and even see elements of that in my life where I really was, I think, quite intuitive and quite able to assess situations that maybe were a little beyond my age. Mm-hmm. So I think that, I would probably do that, reassure my 8-year-old self that that you know what you're doing and that you're going to be okay and that you just need to listen to yourself and everything else will take care of itself.
So really to just trust your own intuition, your own gut. Before we started the call, you were even saying that you are testing different markets and somewhere
that's right,
that's really speaking to you. So that's such great advice. I don't think we can ever hear that too much. There's a real reason why I started off these interviews, and it was really to try and find a general voice that would answer this question. What do you think is the biggest lie that women live with in life that does affect various aspects of their life? It could be their work, their profession, their marriage, their parenting, many different things going on all the time in life where we are influenced by our past. And I'm just wondering what you think is one of the things that is not really true, but we tend to believe it. Maybe you did for a while yourself and you realized it's not really true.
Yeah, I think that particularly with my generation here in the US, I think that there was this, kind of a message that you can do it all, you can have it all. And I just spent some time with a woman I met recently at a networking event, and she said, oh, I had this great advice from somebody who told me once, you can have it all, but not all at the same time. So if one part of your life is going well, the other part is going to, you'll have to sacrifice a little, and you can't have everything be perfect. And I think that maybe that has been for me, the challenge is measuring myself against others, right? My house isn't clean enough. The systems I use in my work are not perfect enough. Other people are better than me at this. Well, instead, I've really tried to focus on my strengths, right? What am I good at? And leveraging those instead of worrying about as much what I don't do as well, and just accepting those things, because I think more than anything, that would be mine. You can't be perfect or great at everything. You can be great at a lot of things, but there's just going to be some things that you don't do well. And rather than fighting that or criticizing yourself and doing that negative self-talk about it, really just accepting it, making the best of it, and moving forward with what you do well and with what you love. And that will really fulfill you and really remove some of that kind of negative energy from, your mind and from your life.
So important, and I really resonate. I felt the love and the affirmation and the self-soothing that you were giving us all when you were saying that. I think there is so much comparison that goes on, and a lot of women answer this question by talking about that perfectionism that we have as women. And I know we all, at times recognize that we're doing these negative, self-destructive things, but it's hard to turn them around, and maybe we can all be a voice to really assist that to happen. Because I think when we hear it enough times from enough women, okay, we're not the only ones, and actually, we've really got to get this done now, in order to move forward, then this is something really important, that we can't actually have it all. I think we have incredibly high standards for ourselves sometimes.
Yeah.
It's unrealistic. That's what you're saying, right? So how to have it at a certain time, and how to also stop the comparing, and how to really look at what your gifts are, your real benefits.
Yes.
Of being you is something nobody else can ever give you. So, there's this awakening of all these women's movements, organizations. There's so many great things happening for women, and there have been for a while. So I wondered what you think about all of that, and if there is anything that you would like to add to it, or anything that you think is worth noting or worth focusing more on about it.
Well, I think it's wonderful, right? I mean, with the fact that women naturally, feel this desire and need to do it all and to be caretakers, and also in our modern world, right, be earners and take care of so many things in life. I think it's wonderful that women are now gathering together and using their voice in unison, and kind of grabbing and taking some power and saying that we're going to be heard, and mobilizing as a group. I think that's wonderful to see. I have a son and a daughter, and it's so neat for me to see that happening, and for her to have some of that messaging out in her world that she's growing up in right now. So I'm thrilled about it. And, so many people I follow on Instagram, for example, when I see even celebrity women using their voice and their power in such a positive way right now, it's absolutely encouraging. And to see the end result is even more encouraging, to see what's happened as a result of that. And I think that things are really shifting and changing, and I think that's something to be celebrating. And I hope that this will be the beginning of some, long needed evolution in our societies across the globe, really. And certainly women are so key to everything in life, and to family success, and to the success of the world. It's going to be exciting to see what is to come.
Yeah, nice to be a mother of a son and a daughter and watch life unfold like that, and really offer them what you can at this time in the world. I think it's a very important time for all of us. There's a chance now for us to learn a little bit more about you and your work. So I wondered if you could tell us what you're most passionate about, or what it is that you feel is your real contribution to the field that you're working in. Of course, we spoke about your recent talk with a group of, I think, 40 people who told me before the interview yesterday on how to interview well in HR and all of this. So given the fact that so many people are still in what we call a 9-to-5 job, and that they have to have that to survive.
Mhm.
Entrepreneurs yet, or business minded, or maybe it's just not the right time, or they don't have the budget, whatever the reasons may be. Really being able to compete in the market is such an important thing. So tell us a little bit more about what are you passionate about in your work, and what is it that you focus most on?
Sure. I mean, I think what I'm passionate about is supporting people, helping people, coaching people to be their best and to represent their best self. So very specifically, my focus tends to be on job interviews, which is something that causes people a lot of stress. And I don't know about, elsewhere in the world, Helen, but I know here in the US and here in the market that I work in Chicago, when companies let go people, many times they are more experienced people. Many times those more experienced people have been in their same job for a pretty extended amount of time, 10, 15, 20 years. And they feel like they've had a punch to the gut when this happens to them, when they suddenly are told they're no longer a member of this company that they've worked hard at for many years. So I really am passionate about supporting these people and building their confidence up. That to me is one of the most important things that I do with people, is help them not only build their confidence, but position themselves powerfully. I think that is something I'm particularly skilled at and excited to do on behalf of people, because I can't tell you how many times I hear people say to me, and I do feel like it might be a little bit more women than men, I love what I do. I'm really good at what I do, but I'm really not comfortable talking about myself and promoting myself. That's just not something I feel that makes me feel comfortable. And I really try to help people get a little more comfortable with that, because we all, like I said earlier, have our strengths, our natural strengths. And many people are doing work that they have natural aptitude in, but their challenge is really talking about it effectively and being able to communicate it effectively. So that is really my passion. And most importantly within that, as I said to you before the call, I feel that working individually is really one of my strengths as well. I really love to tune into individuals and work with them in a very focused manner and really draw out what's important about them and what's best about them. And in all the work I've done over the last several months, I've been able to do that with people of all different, levels and types of jobs. And I really find that it's quite interesting, actually. By a little piece of background about me also is I studied broadcast journalism in college, and this is really like my something I studied coming full circle. I'm interviewing people and learning about people, and I'm naturally curious about people and want to support them. So that's really the focus of what I'm doing, and helping people to do what they need to do in terms of securing great employment, supporting their families and their lifestyles, and being able to live happy lives.
Yeah, fantastic. So they get a chance to really prune, I guess, their inner tree of knowledge, and really get much more clear on what they should be revealing and what they should be keeping quite discreet in an interview. And I think sometimes people don't really know that they have a certain kind of shyness or a certain reservation about putting forward. Like you said, a lot of women are not so comfortable talking about themselves. So let's see, maybe we can find a way to support some of the women on our network and the women watching with some of this knowledge and expertise that you have. And I just want to thank you so much for sharing a little bit about yourself with us today. There's a chance for us to remember you with 3 special words. They can be a phrase, or they can be 3 separate words that really speak to you and speak out to us about things that are very important to you and that you've learned along the way, or that you think is helpful for us to remember. Tell us why you chose them as well.
Sure. Well, that's a good question. Let me think about that for a moment. I think support for me is one. I'd say love, and I would say learning.
Mm-hmm.
Those would be my three. So support really goes to this, what I talked about earlier. I love to help people, support people, and cheer them on. That's just really something that's always been part of my nature. And it fills my soul. It makes me feel good to help others and support them as they need to be supported, whether that be as a friend, as a family member, or as a professional, as a professional. So that for me is really important. Love, of course, is, the energy that feeds all of us and our souls, and being able to tune into that and to be able to tap into that is so important, because I talk about state of mind and your mindset and the energy you put out into the world, into the universe, it's so important. And what we can do when we think about that, when we send love to others, is really powerful. And I've really learned a lot about that in the last maybe year and a half or so. And then finally, learning. I love learning, whether it be, like I said, interviewing individual people and just learning about who they are in order to help them position themselves. Learning about the world, right? Speaking to people like you, meeting people like you, learning about our societies, and like you said, and following what's going on in society, and really taking that information and utilizing it at some level in my everyday life. So I really love ingesting information and learning. It's been something I've enjoyed, forever. So those three for me are really important.
Yeah, to also know how to practice all of these three things for others, and to also practice them for ourselves, even how to get the support, how to feel loved, and how to
Yes.
also really, offer those to other people are so important. So thank you for reminding us about that.
Mhm.
And I look forward to hearing more from you and seeing what you're doing. I know you have a really interesting LinkedIn profile. So if anybody's interested in doing a little bit of coaching with you before they do an interview, they can also easily go and find you on LinkedIn, right?
Yes.
And link up with you there and do a session or two, or maybe there's a program there too at some point when they watch this video. So they can get in touch directly. And I just think it's such an important skill for us all nowadays, whether you are also um, looking for a particular job, or whether you are, even doing interviews like this with me, if you're a business owner, and, whenever you get asked to actually tell people what you're doing, it's so nice to know how to do that in the right way, and in a way that people can hear your message. So thanks so much for what you're doing, and good luck. Thank you for your
Thank you
time.
so much.
Okay, great. Bye, Lynee.
Bye bye.